He had it in him, he just didn't realize.
I just think that these creative things like using music and play and creative arts, it's an invitation for people to bring more of themselves to the workplace. I think that's a big theme, and I just did something with Ernst & Young, and they're doing a lot of work about integrating and work-life balance, and people bringing more of their talents to work, and they learn all these different things about their coworkers that they never knew before because they're doing something in a different framework.
Well, yeah.
Just finally, the last thing that was very interesting, we had the same raw material. We had the same photographic gels, we had the same wire and lots of paint. Every single flower was entirely different. They were all individual. Even today, the final workshop, we had at least half a dozen people who'd done things that hadn't been done at all yesterday. Right. So there was all this innovation in using the same materials.
Right.
And I was constantly surprised.
Which strikes me because the idea that people would be doing things that you wouldn't have expected.
Yes.
I mean, you're a sculptor. This is what you do.
Yes.
And yet, with enough people, you had ideas being generated that even you hadn't imagined.
Absolutely. I was constantly surprised.
Yeah.
And I was always saying, oh, that hasn't been done before. And every time I said, oh, that hasn't been done, they were like, oh, really? Yeah, they were like really excited that they'd done something innovative. And, but I was always really honest with my comments.
Right.
And people really appreciated that. I think they felt very comfortable. Right. Even though we had our own little sort of section, right. People felt they were sort of in the gang, you know.
Yes.
It's a really nice feeling, actually.
The sculpting.
And for those of you who thought you were in a lab experiment with Sophie's experiment, she'd never done this before, so she was in a lab too, which I think is really symbolic as well.
This is the first time I've ever done a workshop like this. So
right, but she does a lot of, and in fact, you should know that this fabulous stuff back here, Sophie created.
Yes, I'm actually a public sculptor, so I do stuff for corporations and lobbies and things. But it was, so that for me, I was learning the entire time, which is, you know, always great.
Paul, does this resonate with the experience you had in the Face the Music workshop?
Yeah, especially what Sophie was saying about, for some reason, people thought writing and singing a blues song in a workshop was risky. I don't know why that would be, but so there was a little trepidation in ours as well. But people started modeling taking risks pretty early in the process and started having fun with it. And we used the blues as our medium, you know. Blues, you know, people think the blues is about whining and complaining. I always said, no, that's country. You know, the blues is about the truth and how it feels. So it's really about what's our truth and how, you know, and there's always a question like, how true do you want it, you know? And when we work in corporations, it's the same thing. Do you really want to know what's going on and uncover that? So people got into, you know, discussing what was going on and what their similarities and their challenges were, as far as everybody had some innovative type role in their company or whoever they were working for, and you know what was similar, what was different about different circumstance. One of the people was from a 100-year-old company that, like, how do you still innovate after 100 years, you know? And other people were in startups, you know, so they were expressing their challenges, and then the band helps them write the songs, you know. And then at the end we had a great performances, and actually they rolled this out. We're going to give you some samples of what people did in a little bit.
It's so striking. And did people in your workshops also say, gee, this feels great, I never get to do this?
Oh yeah, all the time. It's funny because when we go into companies and do this, we usually get, like, sometimes it's a surprise. So they come into our workshop and they see the band set up, and then we tell them that it's your chance to write a blues song about working at, you know, Bank of America or whatever. And they go, well, why do we want to do that? And I'm not a singer. And by the end of it, you know, people are conga dancing around the room and things like that. So it's that magical transformation that, to me, is a great metaphor for, like, breaking through and really connecting on a great idea, say. You know, that's really, like, why we're there.
I mean, what you've all talked about is using the other parts of your brain that are there, that are in effect begging to be let free, and generally don't find a way to escape in the normal course of work, right?
Absolutely. I think that, you know, all these mediums are very powerful. I think that we also can remember that just taking your team through a walk into Manhattan or whatever town you live in and have your business metric very framed in your mind in terms of the issue we need to be working on, but walk through the city and talk about things you see metaphorically and use storytelling and use music and use all these analogous things that you see in the market and externally come to bombard you with stimuli, but put that through the filter of your business objective, and it can be done in any environment, not just a conference, which I think that's an important piece of this.
Right, exactly. And similarly, you know, Sophie, there were people saying, gee, you know, this time I get to spend making the flower, I never get to do this. Well, of course, the reality is we could all do it any time we felt like it,
Right.
if only we would do it. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, and I think these activities help things sort of stick to the wall in our memories too. Like the guy that has the flower in his office,
yeah.
that holds meaning. Or you know, these songs get stuck in people's heads, so they have a different relationship
Yeah,
to
it'll
their.
be reminders, won't it?
Yeah.
Everyone wanted to take their flower home. When I said they could actually have it, they were like, really? Yeah. So there's that nice feeling of being out seeing it when you have it at home and thinking, actually, that was when I had some quiet time.
Yeah, yeah, bring it back.
Important. Very
Well, look, as Paul said, he and some of the other people he works with and some of the people who are participating here in the conference are going to give us a little sample now of some of what they created. This is going to sort of wrap things up, so actually I'm going to take this opportunity to say so long to you, because you won't see me again, but I also want to make sure that I thank the sponsors, the major sponsors who brought this really to life. AOL, who is sponsor of the Innovator Studio created by Play. Also Gap International, Herman Miller, and Lexus. We owe all of them a whole lot of thanks for making this thing possible. And at this point, these three panelists